coach. I did a little bit on the Big East media call. I thought we came out and played a real physical, hard game against Syracuse. I thought our kids really competed. Somewhere at the end of that third quarter there, beginning of that fourth quarter, we kind of, came unglued is the reference I've been using a little bit, and we gave up a couple of scores, and then we responded with an interception and did that little deal that we've had a tendency to do. It's a shame because I had a chance to come in and watch the tape, and I thought our kids really played some real good football in that football game right there, and some really good things that you can build off of. I thought Juice played 2.5 to 3 quarters of really good football, and then he had a few issues at the end right there. I think youth has a lot to do with these things, and experience, the inability to close out a lot of times is reflective of that. Syracuse has got a good team. They've had a veteran team, a senior-laden team, guys that are been in that program a long time, and a lot of times what happens, those teams with that experience, can capitalize that in the end, especially in a game like that. We had some rough, couple rough penalties there too. It's a shame, but all in all, I thought there certainly was no lack of intensity, no lack of effort. I give our kids a lot of credit the way they fought in that game. We just got to, I think that people have asked me my reflection on the season, and my reflection is really this. I thought there were some really good moments. I thought there were some hard moments. I thought that basically through the year, there was a theme where we would get ourselves, whether it be on one side or the other or both, we'd have those moments where we'd kind of just get unglued a little bit and didn't have the ability to overcome that. A couple times we did. Obviously we did in South Florida. We did it in Connecticut. And we didn't respond well after the half against Rutgers. We responded well after the bizarre half against Maryland. We came back like crazy in the second half against Maryland. And I think what you saw was a young, inexperienced team making this transition this year. That was to be expected no matter what league we were in terms of being young and inexperienced. But in terms of the two together, created a little bit of that inconsistency. I see a lot of bright spots. I mean, you look at the Army game, and you watch how hard we played, and even probably we played better against them than any team that had played them to date. And there was several MAC teams that had played them. One that's went on and I think had some real success. So I think there's real tangible evidence on video of all the positives, and of course there's some tangible evidence of the youth and some of the negative things that happen. I'm disappointed that we're not playing in a bowl game right now, that we're not practicing right now. Myself, I'm not used to this, but I also can't tell you, look in the eye and say I didn't feel like we're about where I thought we would be. I thought that we had a chance to be a 4 to 6 win team in this transition if all things were right and we were healthy and everything was perfect. And unfortunately that didn't stay the course for us. We weren't healthy. It wasn't perfect. Our two biggest playmakers each missed a month of the season essentially. We lost one of our very best interior defensive linemen. On a young, thin team, those things are going to affect you more than they would on some of these teams that have a little bit more depth and a little bit more age. So, but I thought that there's so much to build off of. Like I told you guys after the game, I'm very energized. I feel really terrific about what we're working with right now. Obviously, we've got to solidify some things. We've got some issues on defense that have to be solidified. We've got to solidify our quarterback situation. Our receiver situation is just really a byproduct of tremendous youth. But I really like our talent level there. I think it's going to be a very good, a very good group of receivers that are be very, very competitive in the conference that we're in right now. But they need seasoning, they need work, they need an off-season program, they need a spring, they need a camp, they need all the above. I can't guarantee anything because you never know, but I know the talent level's there. It's just a matter of bringing that around. I like the things that Juice did in the end. I like his leadership. And I think Chris had some real good moments as well. So we have two guys coming back here along with Kevin Newsom. And Kevin Newsom has the ability to do a lot of different things. So, we got to really utilize Kevin Newsom as we move forward. I like our offensive line. Where we were when we started this thing, you wish you shoulda, coulda. I wish our line season by the end of the year was the same line we had at the beginning of the year when we played Maryland. But it wasn't, and that's just the way it is, and we knew that. But I like where that line's headed. I really do. I really like the job that was done there in the development of it. I like our tight ends. I think we got some good tight ends. I like our fullbacks. You know, we've got some young tailbacks, but I told you, I'm very optimistic about our tailbacks. I feel good about it. You know, you take Jamie Gilmore. I mean, he's a really talented guy. We got him in there and got him some real valuable experience this year, which will really pay dividends. He needs an off season. Imagine when an off season and getting bigger and stronger and faster. He's got tremendous ability. And on defense, the young linebackers. I mean, there's three of them: Nate Smith and Dvorak and Medikevich, and those guys are something now. I mean, they're going to be good, really good football. But you can build your defense around those guys. Now we need some work in the back end, I think. Obviously, we got some, but we really like the young players that we have back there. You know, that some of them were on the scout team this year, and we feel terrific about them. They're young, and youth will be a little bit of a problem. We've got to rebuild the depth on our defensive front. We got to develop a pass rusher. The loss of Adrian Robinson, we did not redevelop that pass rusher yet. That didn't happen, and that was evident. So we like our youth. We like where we're headed. I think that someone asked me, would you rather have, would have been better to have a year to, you know what? No. I mean, I think the best thing that happened was that we went right into this league. No matter when, now, later, there was going to be an adjustment period. I'd rather have the adjustment period, the youth, the whole thing in one shot. And I think we'll be better for it. Now, I think I said this as well after the game. I don't want to put forward this thing like, Rome's built in a day, we're good to go now, bam, bam, bam. It's a process. I just like where we're headed, and I think we're going to be better and we're going to grow. And, we're only a couple of games off from being bowl eligible, and honestly, I really felt like there was 2 games in there that we really could have won and really weren't away from us at all, okay? And it's a shame. And we could have got those games. Could have, should have, would have. We didn't. We could have. So they're kind of right there. Some of those other ones, that 4-game stretch we had, they got away from us just because we gave up too many points in bunches. But there was 6 winnables in there. And I look back and I watch us when we played Penn State. We went on the road with this team to Penn State. That team we brought to Penn State, and that team we had at the end, I don't know. I wish we had that team early. But everyone would say the same thing, I think, across the country. You're always better in the end, usually, especially when you're young. That's not really the case for him. I shouldn't say that. Some senior-laden teams that don't perform well down the stretch, that's really not the case, and we've seen some of those. But our team improved, and we got a lot of improvement to go, and I'm really looking forward to it. I really like the future of the program. I like the future of our team. It's going to continue to improve. It's so young. I looked at the numbers. 16. We had like 9 true freshmen starting. We had 16 redshirt freshmen/freshmen, like starting like really real viable roles in the game. I mean, like that's where our team is right now. Our team is in those freshman sophomore classes right now with a scattering of some juniors in there, and then we'll have the ability to bring another great class in. So that's where that's going to be. It's going to push that way, and that's a good thing. That's what it is. It goes in cycles, and so I see good things to come. And there's a lot of buzz about our program. I think people really understand that. I had a chance to talk to a lot of the guys that I know in the league, and they all say the same thing to me. Boy, you really got a good young football team, man. You kids play really hard. They're tough. They compete. I mean, it's a resounding theme. It's not BS. And that makes you. You look back and you feel that. Our kids do play hard. Our kids do compete, and we're just we're a little young and missing a few parts right there. But they all it's pretty common theme. When they come out of our games, teams that play us are pretty beat up, and that means you're doing some really good things. So that's where it is, and we'll grow from here. Any questions?
If you're putting together a checklist, like you said, the off season is so important.
Yep.
From now till next August, whenever you're playing Notre Dame, what will be at the top of the checklist of things that they have to accomplish?
You got to remind me we got to go to Notre Dame, right? They could potentially be the national champions. That's how we open the season, right? I mean, good Lord have mercy. I would say this to you, okay? The number one thing in my mind right now is, I want this team to have tremendous pain and sacrifice in the offseason. I feel it's really important that we become a very hungry football team and a very invested football team. And how do you become invested is you sacrifice so much in the off season. You put so much into it. You're so invested. That's hard sometimes. You had some dynamics here, this year. When really young guys, freshmen, they're not invested. They have the good attitude, they want it, but they're not invested. They just kind of roll in here, they kind of all of a sudden it's season and here we go and zippity-doo-dah, Then you got we had a group of seniors that came in here and it's not their fault, but their first season was a 9-win season. And, a year ago we had those guys that had really invested in this thing and been through some really hard times. I think what's really important, and this is the cycle of the evolution of football teams, is teams come up and they rise. This is all part of it. I think what we have to do is...
Game sacrifice? Like, give me an example.
I mean, it's got to be a really hard off-season program where it's really tough to make it, and guys go through that together, and it's really, really hard.
Workouts and...
Everything about it's hard, and nobody's happy. I just feel like right now, we're home right now, we're not playing in a bowl game, and don't feel good about it, because that's not what you came here for. So it should burn, it should hurt, we're right in workouts right now, we're going today, and that's the way it's going to be, and it's going to be a very unforgiving deal, and then I want it to be an earned program, if some of the beautiful things we have right now, we need to maybe go back and make sure we understand how lucky we are to have them. And we're gonna really make sure that we invest. I want the investment to be deep into the program with work and with effort and with sacrifice.
So that they don't have to feel this way next year, at this time.
I think yes, and the way you don't feel that way this year, at this time next year, is because you're so invested, and it means so much to you, and that's called chemistry. That's that bond. That's it's not a new thing, right? There's plenty of service people going to Marines, Special Forces. They have to invest so much, and they build a bond. Even though you might not all be best of friends, you have a great respect for each other because of the accountability factor. We've got to go develop that right now. That's the problem of being so young. And last year's senior class had so much of that in them because of what they had to overcome here. And now here we are, we're in a bigger conference. We've got a new facility. We run this program like a big-time Division 1A football program. We have people in here to take care of the athletes and make sure that their legs are rubbed down on Thursdays, and all the things I wanted that I believe in for a big-time Division 1 football program. But now I think we have to go back and make sure that this young team understands that these are privileges, and let's go back and really. It's kind of like the old story, right? You come up with nothing. You work nights, you sacrifice, you find a few dollars, you put it together, you buy maybe your first car. And then, maybe it's not the nicest car in the world, but, you love it, and you shine it, and you wash it, and you wax it, and you take care of it. And then you go to some other kid who just gets a car, and they walk in, they don't care about it, they don't appreciate it. There's garbage on the seat. I want this program to be built on young guys that are really going to put a lot into this, and we got to build that sense of tremendous investment, accountability, and pride. I think that goes a long way in setting the stage and the tone for great leadership, because I guess what I'm driving at, guys, is, in my opinion, we're this much away from those extra 2 wins. Not that much, this much. What do we do to get that much? That's my job. That's what I got to figure out. Obviously, there's recruiting and there's development. I got all that, but there's something else in there, and I want to get that. We need to go get that, and we're going to work like hell at it.
Given what you lose in the running backs, how important is it to really establish the quarterback, figure out who it is, and just sort of go from there?
I mean, it's huge. It's the quarterback and the receivers. We will truly have to become a much more balanced football team, okay? Because, the reality of it was, in my opinion, whether I'm right or I'm wrong, the best playmakers on the football team in the last 2 years have been the backs. And, you're a fool if you don't utilize that. And this year especially, with the youth at the receiver position, and the youth in the offensive line with protection, throwing the ball was rough duty. And we did a little bit better job, I thought, Friday morning of that against Syracuse. But, we got to truly become what I want to become. And we won't just be able to be so heavily reliant. Not that we're not going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball. But I'm just saying we can't be so heavily reliant as we move forward. And I'm excited about it.
You need one guy to step up, though, and really take charge of the position, and so you're not sure, you don't have this uncertainty week to week.
I think the quarterback position is huge. I mean, that has to be a position where, guys got great leadership and has a knack and ability to make plays at the most competitive times. And, that's something that has to get done. And, I would say that, we fell short on that this year. And, that's something that we need to grow with. Juice is like a redshirt freshman. Chris is really his first true year starting. And, we had some inconsistencies there. And that needs to be worked through because I don't care who you are. You look around, these teams that have great years, they've got, those quarterbacks are really in the mode of making those big plays when they have to be made.
It's a little weird because we were sitting here last year thinking that
Yes.
Steve is, you have that element.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We felt like, but that, that didn't end up being really the case. Now, having said that though, there's other factors here. You had a young offensive line. You had a young group of receivers. How can you heap that all on just the quarterback when there's a lot more? There's drop balls, there's missed protections, and sometimes you say, yeah, but it all matters because it's momentum and confidence. The next phase for this offensive line is become a better pass protection unit, which I know they will, because that's what I know, and I know that's what's going to happen. That's the evolution of an offensive line, and then the evolution of these young playmaker receivers is going to give our quarterbacks a much better opportunity. So people will say and point to the quarterback, and there's some instances where that's valid. But in the same breath, I think we all realize, looking at it, that that's also is a little bit of a byproduct of the supporting cast around. So like all of a sudden now you got veteran tight ends, you got another year vested in the program with some really talented receivers, and you got an offensive line that's going to be much more mature. What does that mean now for the growth and the maturity and the development of that quarterback position with two kids that have now will come into a season which have played a fair amount of, decent amount of football. Does that guarantee? They still got to have that it factor to them. No question about that. But it's unfair to judge that just on what happened because you saw it and I saw it. Sacks, drops, make a few completions and, all of a sudden that mojo grows a little bit, and next thing you know, you got a lot more positive things breeding.
So what's your plans for Newsom?
Well, I think, I got to still meet with Kevin, and I really see a lot of potential in Kevin, It's hard to come in here and take on a quarterback position without being into spring football or even here in the summer or anything else. So I think this is going to be an interesting year. He's got a lot of ability, but he's a guy that can do a lot of things. Imagine him as a big tailback. He's got great running skills. I just think there's things that we have to sit down and talk about with. There are times when you watch him at quarterback and you say to yourself, this guy throws a tremendous ball. He's got a lot of competitiveness in him. I like him a lot. Okay, I just got to tell you that. I've got to have a winter and a spring with him, to get my arms around this thing. I guess to people would sound like, well, geez, you had him in camp. But that's really hard when you show up for camp and you got a kid that was coming off of last season, and you got another guy who's been here for years. There's only so many reps. You just can't just start experimenting, especially when the guy's having a hard time just learning the system, the cadence, and it's the simplest of things. But I think Kevin's got a lot of ability, and I think we've got to do a good job of figuring out, because he can help this football team. And now with a winter and a spring and a preseason, now we got to get that. That's got to get figured out right there. And that might be right where he is, the quarterback, and it might be whatever. But he's a Division I athlete who's competitive and has skills.
What about Montrell Dobbs? Do you expect him to join the team?
I can't really comment, but
Can't comment?
he's not a part of the team right now.
He's
So
not?
I can't really comment on that. I don't.
I thought
even
since
know
he
if
was
I
a
can comment
student. I thought since he
Yeah,
was
I'm not
a
sure,
student,
Keith.
he could.
That's
Right.
probably a good question. I don't really, I'm not sure about that one. He's in school. Yeah.
Do you also have, when you talk about the guys who are investing, do you also have now the guys who are juniors who maybe didn't have the season that they wanted to have? Are they kind of on notice? Are they kind of feeling some pressure and looking at some of these freshmen?
Everybody's on
sophomores
notice.
saying,
Yeah. I put them all on notice.
What do you mean by that when you say you put them all
I
on
challenged the football team yesterday. I told them. I said, don't have any smiles around this joint right now. I said, we're here in December. That's not what this program is about, right? You should be practicing in December. So let's just get that straight right now. We're going to get to work right now. There's not going to be any time off or anything else. And it's going to be one rough place to be in the winter and the spring. This is going to be no box of chocolates around here. And, I expect them to embrace my mindset. Listen, I know what the positives are. I told them to you. They know how I feel about all the good. But right now, it's time to get going. It's 2013 in my mind right now. And we're going to get the tempo set the right way. And if we have the kids that I think we have, they're going to embrace that. And they're going to take that on and they understand where we're coming from right now. So,
You played bad cop. Did you see some looks in their faces or
Yeah.
did you get the kind of looks you thought you were going to get?
oh, yeah, we got some great kids in this program right now. I just want to make sure they understand from the leader of this program that, it's great that we talk about we have a future. But we got to make it a reality. And the grind is going to be incredible. And take this challenge on and embrace it, because that's what it's all about right now. You sit there and talk too many flowery things and all that other kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And what happens is all of a sudden you think like, it's just going to happen. Well, hey, we're just young, so this will just happen. No. It'll happen if we take the right steps and we do the right things to make it happen, sure. But let's understand that there's a lot of hard work and sacrifice and grind that's going to happen. There's no guarantees. There's no guarantees. So it's just a mindset of the program, and that's just the way it's going to be. And I like it like that. I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about it. Really am.
Dvorak, are you thinking about moving them to like strong side?
I mean, I think there's a lot of conversations that are going to be had in terms of, I'll just tell you this, we will put our best players on that football field. Mm-hmm. I don't care system, what worked, what was good, it doesn't mean a thing to me right now. We're going to put our best, most competitive guys, our toughest guys are going to be on the football field at one time. Whether that means 3-4, 4-3, under, man, zone, reroute, hard cover 2, all the above. That's the job right now of our football staff, is to make sure that we have our players right now, 2013, in the best schematic situations that are going to make us win. And it's all going to be all the review that's going to take place here. When I say it's going to be tough on players, it's going to be tough on the coaches too. It's going to be a grind right now. We're going to grind, and we're going to make sure we have everything where it should be, because we've got good guys in this program. We've got good players in this program, and that's what it's going to be all about.
Now you didn't name them, but you said there were a couple guys on the backside who redshirted, who kind of impressed you.
I thought Demir Shaw did a great job for us. I thought Stephon Marshall did a great job for us. I get a chance a lot of times. I'm down on offense a lot, and I see those guys. Mm-hmm. And I thought Demir and Stephon showed me a lot. They showed me a lot. I think those guys have something to them. They like football. I like that group of guys. Mm-hmm. That's encouraging stuff right there.
Mm-hmm. You talked about having to develop a pass rusher.
Yep.
Who in your mind in this group that's on us right now has that potential to be that guy?
Well, I mean, Sean Daniels has potential to be a pass rusher. He's a guy that, he's got that. He's kind of got that in him a little bit, And there's a bunch of young guys in here that I think, I think our interior guys have got to bring more. Levi Brown has to step up and have the year that he's supposed to have. I think that's really important. Shaheed Paul Hill has got to evolve. Avery Ellis is a guy that I think is going to be a real big kid. He looks like one of those kind of defensive ends. He came here as a linebacker, but I see him as an edge guy that has great explosiveness, and we've got to develop that in him. So I mean, those guys are here. We've got some linebackers that seem to have some great blitz capabilities. Maybe we got to have more linebackers on the field at one time. So those things are all on the docket. But creating more pass rush is critical. I just didn't think that was something that I didn't think that we were strong here in the pass rush this year. Puts a lot of stress on your back end. So we got to wire that together better.
Is there anything about playing this league that either you and or your players didn't appreciate before and had to go through it first?
No, I mean
they knew what to expect.
I mean, I don't know. I did. I mean, I've been in this business a long time. I knew exactly what to expect, and we got exactly what I thought we would get. And I just think that the grind. I would say to you, the grind is something that because what's hard for me to tell you is these young players came here, they didn't know anything anyways. I mean, they didn't know whether you're playing a match. I mean, they didn't know anything. But the older players is the grind of. It's one thing to play one of those games. Even this year, you see MAC teams popping up and beating BCS teams. But when you got to do it week in and week out, and then what happens is the compounding effect on your football team. It's the beat down that goes on because of the lack of depth. That's where I think it is. And again, I'll say this again. We don't exactly play a soft non-conference schedule. So, you know, you take a tough non-conference schedule, then you take being in a tougher conference, and it's the compounding effect that I don't think anybody has any idea what that does to your football team. We just kind of, everybody rolls through that like, well, that's whatever. No, it's not whatever. That's what it is. That's the crux of it right there. And that's why you'll see all the time teams pop up and beat teams. But if they had to go week in and week out, that grind would beat them down. That's why I was so energized after the Syracuse game, because I saw our team play really well against Army, and they played against BCS teams and MAC teams. And then I saw our team come out against Syracuse, who was playing their best football, and I saw our team did not look like a tired football team or a beat-down team. They kind of rallied with no bye week. You've seen some other teams in this conference. What happened at the end of the year, a couple of teams, they played well last week. They've had 2 bye weeks back-to-back here or close to each other at the very end. They gave their team a chance to replenish like that. We didn't have any bye weeks. So I think to answer your question, that's the biggest thing in the conference is the week in and week out. It's not so much the individual matchup right there. Now, we had some mismatches at times with freshmen on seniors, but I never felt like that. I never felt that way this season. I never felt and said, like, we just don't have the guys to play. I never felt that way. I never felt that way. What I did feel like is we ran out of a little bit of gas at times, and our depth was a problem, and our injuries magnified that. But, you know, you're going to have injuries. It's just that with us, they were magnified because depth was an issue to begin with. So that, you know, how can Temple, coming in this situation, rebuilding year, coming in the Big East, lose their 2 absolute biggest bona fide playmakers that are flat playmakers within this conference and not have each one of them essentially for a month and think that's not going to affect us? My God. It affected some of these other teams and they lost their guys. I mean, you know, think Louisville's not affected with Teddy Bridgewater being hurt. You think, you know, USF's not affected with what's his name, the quarterback, BJ? I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, look at Connecticut after they played us and they had to go up to Syracuse, you know, and then all of a sudden they have a couple bye weeks and look how strong they looked playing Louisville. I mean, I'm just saying, that's just the way it is. You know, that's the reality of it all. What would Syracuse have been like, you know, without their quarterback? I mean, Ryan Nassib's not playing. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, right? He's the best player in their team, right? Or one of them. I mean, they were struggling early when they didn't have Justin Pugh at left tackle. They didn't have Alec Lemon in the first half of the season. Alec Lemon, their senior wide receiver. Pro player, quarterback, pro player. Well, they didn't have the tackle and they didn't have the receiver early in the year. What did that do to that team? Just saying.
Yeah.
You know, so, and that's a veteran team with older guys. So, you know, it's fragile in there. And then to me, my experience, places I've been, you know, you go into the SEC, I mean, you know, the difference there was you had even more depth, you know, and you had more capability to sustain it. So as these levels come, it gets more fragile. It just gets more paper thin. Then you get into the MAC teams, they can be real paper thin. You know, so if they had to play week in and week out, you'd see a whole different outcome there. So it's the way it is in college football. And we got to reload, restock, and build. And that's why I'm glad we played this season. Because I think we had to feel that. Because no matter, even if we were a year older next year, but next year was the first year we did that, we would have felt the effects of that. It would have affected us. So I just think it's better to feel that now. You know, now, can we get experienced enough and deep enough in 1 year as we move? Well, that's the race we're in right now. That's why I know it's not going to be built in a year. It's going to take a couple of years. You know, it's a 2 to 3 year process to. I'm not saying that you will win. I'm just saying it's to build the stock back up.
Now, the Big East is going to make an announcement at 1 o'clock that Tulane. They actually sent out the media alert that Tulane's joining the conference. Your thoughts on Tulane coming in?
You know what, Keith? Absolutely, honest to God, you saying that is the first time I've heard that.
Really?
So I mean that. So like I wouldn't want to say anything because I haven't thought it through. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It would be unfair for me to comment on that. I did not know that, and so I just trust the leadership of the conference, and I'm excited about it. You know, I'm just excited where this is headed. You know, it's interesting. You know, God, these league things right now are crazy to me. You know, I kind of wish the geographical deals would stick together a little bit. I just, where it's headed and all that's crazy, but I just trust the leadership of the Big East is still going to bring whatever changes are going to occur here are going to be great, and we're super proud to be a part of it. You know, and I think it's going to be great as we move forward. But I don't want to comment on it just because, honest to God, I just heard that. So I don't like to say things that I don't have a chance to kind of think about for a second, anyways.
Steve, what about Pete Smith, the safety from Archbishop?
Yep.
I didn't play this year. What did you maybe just see from him in practice?
He's a young guy.
He came in late.
Yep, he's young. He came in late. He's raw. He's got ability, and we're glad we have him. And he's going to be a part of the solution and a part of the rising young guys. And how fast can he grow and mature? Those are all the questions that I can't answer just yet. But he has ability for sure, for sure. Anything else?
How do you replace a guy like Brandon?
Oh, that's a good.
That's just part of college
That's
football.
a tough one right there. You're talking about replacing a bona fide player that are hard to come by to begin with. So that one there is going to take some work, and I can't talk about recruiting right now, but but that's that's really a good football player right there that did a lot for us, field position changes, scoring points, et cetera, et cetera. And, that's a big hit. It's a big loss.
Anything else? Please help yourselves to lunch.